Oh, I'm nearly at the end. This is so exciting. Oh my gosh, you won't believe who did it!
Ray, we're filming. Everyone's watching.
Oh, sorry. Hi everyone. Sorry, I was just catching up on some reading. You know what that's like. Still, we better get this party started. Authors, are you ready?
Ready! Ready!
Join us in the countdown in your classrooms right now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Puffin Storymaker Show. I hope wherever you're watching, you're having a brilliant booky day. A reading revolution is happening right now, and you and your school can join in simply by sharing stories. In the studio today, we have some incredible story makers who will be inspiring you to read up, speak up, and change the world. Because this year's World Book Day theme is Reading is Power. Tweet at Puffin Books using the hashtags Puffin Show and Reading is Power to share your class photos for a chance to appear in future shows and join in the movement. I'm super psyched to introduce you to our first author, a star on this year's World Book Day lineup, Robin Stevens! Robin, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Robin is, of course, the author of the Murder Most Unladylike series about super detectives Daisy and Hazel. Can you tell us what the book The Case of the Drowned Pearl is about?
So, The Case of the Drowned Pearl is obviously my World Book Day 2020 short story, which I'm so excited about. And it stars Daisy Wells and Hazel Wong and their best friends, George and Alexander. They go on a seaside holiday in the summer. They think they're there to eat ice cream and play in the sea until one morning they wake up and go out to the beach and they find the dead body of a famous swimmer lying next to the sea.
Oh my gosh.
Now, they think that she must have just drowned as she was swimming until they sniff the body and it doesn't smell like the sea at all. So the detectives have to solve an entire murder mystery in a very short amount of time, in a very short book.
That's amazing. But murder mysteries have a lot of facts, so how do you research all of that?
Obviously, I love reading murder mysteries. I love watching murder mysteries. I love thinking about crime. I am a bit obsessed. But it's also really important to me to research the locations of my crimes really, really carefully. For The Case of the Drowned Pearl, I went to the seaside, I went to Worthing Beach, and I stood there and I imagined a crime taking place on that very beach. And for my 9th and final Murder Most Unladylike mystery, which is set in Egypt, I traveled to Egypt.
No way.
Yes, which was, I think, the coolest thing I've ever done to research any of my books. And I took this with me. This is the notebook that I carried around at all times and a pen. And this is a page that I wrote. I woke up really early and I went and sat on deck on our Nile cruise ship and I wrote what was happening as the sun was going up. So this is how it smelled and how cold it was and what the light was like in the sky and what birds were there. And that was so, so helpful for me because I could take that home. And then when I wanted Hazel and Daisy to see something, I would look in the book and see what they should be seeing.
So do you have to go to Egypt or can you just...
No, the good news is that you don't have to go anywhere to write a good book. You can write a good book about your own house if you want to. My series began with Murder Most Unladylike, which of course takes place in Daisy and Hazel's school. And that school was based on the place that I really did go to school. So if you want to be an author, you really don't have to travel at all. You can just write about something that feels very familiar and real to you.
That's amazing. Well, Robin, a game that I love to play is called Extreme Reading because basically I get to travel too, kind of, you know? Yeah, because here I am just traveling in space. And here I am with the Queen! But it's not, you know, it's not actually the Queen because it's like, you know, they have these computer apps that you can just like edit everything. But it's a great game and you should totally play it with me. And you guys can play in your classrooms too. Robin's gonna describe some places she's done extreme reading and writing and we're gonna guess where she is.
So, first question for everyone. It is a type of vehicle. It has carriages.
It's a car. No.
It has carriages and it goes into a station.
It's a train.
Yes, and this one is a very famous train that used to go all the way through Europe.
Oh, that was a movie. The Orient Orient Express.
Yes, that's it. Yes. And of course, the Orient Express was where I set my book, First Class Murder. Next question. It's sandy and there's water nearby.
It's an island.
You might go here on holiday.
Beach.
Beach.
It's a beach.
Yes, it's a beach. And of course, this is where I wrote my World Book Day short story, The Case of the Drowned Pearl.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. You might come to this place to see a play or a show.
A stage. Roundhouse Theater.
Theater, yes. And that, of course, is the location of my book, Death in the Spotlight. And finally, it's hot and sandy. They had pharaohs, and there are pyramids here.
You were just there. It must be Egypt.
Yes, Egypt. The location of my last murder mystery in the Murder Most Unladylike mystery series, which is coming out in August this year. I'm so excited.
That is so exciting. How did you guys do? 5 out of 5? I need a cool down. That was actually really hard. Do you have any tips then for people who want to write stories, like maybe who are in the classrooms that they can try out right now?
So the thing that I would like you guys to do is write about a place that you maybe have visited, maybe you've heard about, but you haven't been to for a while or ever. Then go visit that place and take a notebook like this and make notes of everything you see and hear and smell and taste. And then write another story about that place. And I think you'll be really amazed to see how much more vivid and realistic your writing is.
So today is all about how reading can be powerful. And what would you say that means to you?
I think it's so exciting to have a whole day about the power of stories because I think books and reading and writing is one of the most powerful things that we have. Because when I write stories about Daisy and Hazel, I have made something up that everybody believes in, and I think that's extremely powerful.
That is so powerful. I totally agree with that. Thank you so much. This year for World Book Day, we need your help to share 1 million stories. 1 million! That's a lot of stories being shared. And here to tell us about it are a few authors and illustrators. How many have you seen on the shelves in your reading corner?
For World Book Day 2020, we're asking you
to join our reading revolution across the nation, from the sofa to the bunk bed, from the park to the train.
Because stories are for everyone, anywhere, at any time. For just 10 minutes a day, from breakfast until bedtime.
Let's share a million stories!
poring over picture books with your grown-ups.
Share graphic novels with Grandma.
Laugh at joke books with your siblings.
Relaxing with an audiobook and your favourite adult.
Or cuddle up with teddies and comics.
No matter what you choose, every story shared counts.
I like reading with my sister because I feel like we're connected by reading the book.
But reading for fun is in decline.
So let's boost it back up.
Spark our awesome imaginations.
And make story sharing
a normal part of every day.
Because reading is magic, and every child deserves the magic of stories, don't they?
We love sharing stories. What will we read today?
Next up, I'm super excited to introduce Rashmi Sirdeshpande, who's written an extraordinary series of picture books. Hey girl.
Hi Ray. Hello everyone, and a special hello to my old primary school, Isleworth Town School.
So we were given this picture of you, and it's totally adorable. How old were you in this picture, and what was your big dream?
So I was about 4 or 5 in that picture, and my big dream was to be an inventor like Caractacus Potts from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I wanted to invent all of these big and exciting and interesting things.
Oh wow, that just caught my eye. And that dinosaur is like my favorite thing in the world.
She is lovely. So she is T-Rex, and she's from Never Show a T-Rex a Book. And she's very excited because she has just been sneaking into the library to read all kinds of books. But if she reads all the books, then she might decide that she doesn't want to just be a dinosaur anymore. She might decide that she'd rather be an artist or an astronaut or even the Prime Minister. And that's what she does. She becomes the Prime Minister, and she and her fun-loving friends get up to all kinds of mischief. as you can see from Diane Ewan's beautiful illustrations.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. She becomes a prime minister. A dinosaur becomes a prime minister?
She does. Anyone can become the prime minister, Ray.
Girl. And was that the first book that you wrote?
It is. It's the very first book that I wrote, so it's very special to me, this one.
And we have your other books here as well, How to Be Extraordinary and How to Change the World. And do you want to tell us a bit about those?
I would love to. So How to Be Extraordinary is about 15 extraordinary humans. And there are some that are really famous, you might have heard of, like Sir David Attenborough, Nelson Mandela, and some who you might not have heard of, like Keiko Fukuda sensei, who was a grandmaster judoka, and she actually reached the highest level in judo when she was 98 years old. So you are never ever too old to do extraordinary things.
98 years
98 years old. And someone else who I really love from the book, I love all the people from the book, but I really love Sir Mo Farah. His story is incredible because he actually wanted to be a footballer when he started out.
No way.
He did, but it was his running on the pitch that caught the attention of his PE teacher, and he became a double Olympic champion. And what I love about his story more than anything is just how hard he trained, how hard he always works, gives his 100% to every single race, and he never ever gives up, no matter what happens.
And oh my gosh, they do his famous Mobot. Can we do it?
Can we do it? Famous Mobot.
But you guys have to do it as well in the schools. Otherwise, we're just gonna sit here like, and then, yeah?
We will do it.
1, 2, 3, yeah?
One,
two,
three.
I hope he sees this. Do you think he? No, he's not gonna. Okay. Yeah, very cool. And how did you choose to put him in the book?
Oh, it's a very difficult decision because there are so many extraordinary people in the world, just like you guys sitting there in school, because I think we are all extraordinary. But finding people from this book, we wanted people from around the world, people who did different things, like a spy, a runner, a judo master, a doctor. We've got all kinds of people in the book.
That's exciting. And how does that link to How to Change the World?
So, How to Be Extraordinary is about amazing individuals. How to Change the World is about teamwork. And it's about the extraordinary things that we can do when we work together, like building the International Space Station.
I really want to go to space.
It's incredible. And the International Space Station was actually assembled in space, 240 miles above the Earth, while it was flying at 17,000 miles per hour, and that is really fast. And it had to be assembled piece by piece with different space agencies around the world contributing the parts, because there just isn't any rocket big enough or powerful enough to launch a space station that is the size of a football pitch.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It's incredible.
So there's just these 5 space agencies who've contributed all the parts, and now there's this big thing in space.
Flying.
Football pitch.
Yeah, making a lap of the Earth every 90 minutes. It is extraordinary. And the work that they're doing up there, learning how humans can survive out in space, is really exciting. But it's a big project and not something that any one country can do alone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And how did you find out about this in the first place? Because that's like such an obscure thing to know about.
Yes, so I had to do lots of research to write these books, reading books, watching documentaries, reading articles, looking up things on the internet, speaking to people, and I had to find the juiciest things to put in, because you don't want to read something boring, you need to read something, you know, so I had to really find the most juicy things that I could find to squeeze in here, and of course I had to leave space for the pictures, so that means only the best stuff gets into these books.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad you mentioned the pictures because they are so beautiful. Did you draw these or does somebody else draw
I
these?
wish I drew these pictures, but actually these pictures were done by Annabelle Tempest, who is an illustrator who I work with on this series, and she is wonderful. Every single person here has a different character to them. It's just so exciting, and there's so many things happening to spot on every single page. Love it.
Amazing. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to go off and read these, and I'm not even a kid. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Everyone have a wiggle in your seats and get comfortable because the read-along is about to begin.
Hey everyone, I'm Yassmin Abdel-Magied and I'm the author of a book called You Must Be Layla. But before I tell you about Layla, I'm going to play a little game with you. It's called 2 Truths and a Lie. So I'm going to tell you 3 things about myself. 1 of them is a lie and 2 of them are true, and you have to guess which one's which. Fact number 1 is that I designed and built my own race car. Fact number 2 is that I was a boxer. And fact number 3 is that I was a champion swimmer in high school. Now, who thinks fact number 1 is false? Put your hand up. Okay. Who thinks fact number 2 is false? I see you, okay. And who thinks fact number 3 is false? All right, if you pick fact number 3, give yourselves a little pat on the back. But the other two facts are definitely true. Let me tell you a little bit about Layla. Layla is a 13-year-old girl who is a Sudanese Australian, and she's gotten a scholarship to a fancy new private school. And I'm going to read to you a little bit about her first day. All right? It took Layla forever to find her classroom. She was in 8A. A for awesome, she said to herself when she found out, chuckling a little. The door incident from before completely forgotten. She sung herself a little hype-up tune to make herself feel better, and her jokes did the same, working their magic on her mood. She could make herself laugh for ages with her lame jokes, earning her the nickname Broken Record at her old school. Layla wondered if her classmates here would think she was as funny. Humming, Layla threw her school bag on the rack outside the classroom. The bulging maroon backpack lay precariously on top of the untidy pile of identical bags. She then pushed the door and walked into the classroom. The room fell silent, and everyone turned to look at her. The humming caught in her throat, and she paused just inside the doorway, wondering if she'd done something wrong again. Was it because she'd forgotten to wear the hat? Damn. Or had class already started? The clock on the wall said 8:40 a.m. Rah, how long had she been lost for? Come on in. You must be Layla. Now that everyone's here, we can finally get started. Layla, would you like to take a seat? Who do you think that was? The voice came from the front of the room. Everyone turned to look at their teacher. She had broad shoulders, very thin legs, with straight white hair pulled up in a tight bun. Layla wondered if the hairstyle gave her headaches. Sometimes when she tied her headscarf too tight, it gave her these wicked migraines. The teacher made another noise, startling Layla out of her thoughts. Yep, Layla croaked. She cleared her throat. She could do better than this. Yep, I'm Layla, she yelled. Oh, mate, too loud. Why weren't her vocal cords cooperating today? A couple of people snickered. Oh, sorry for yelling, miss, she said. I just wanted to make sure you could hear me. I've had a weird morning, you know. I ran into a door. Anyway, Layla took in a deep breath. When she was flustered, she could ramble. Well, what was she even saying? Oh, yes, she should apologize for yelling. Well, you see, sorry for yelling, because think of an excuse quick. I have to yell at my grandma when I'm on the phone with her because she's a bit deaf and you kind of remind me of my grandma, so I thought I should yell too, you know, just in case. I was just being polite. The class erupted with laughter. Oh, no. I mean, I don't mean your old miss. I meant to say like my grandma's really wise and kind, you know. The teacher's face was darkening with anger, and Layla slowly spluttered to a stop. As the class continued to roar, Layla grimaced. She'd really put her foot in it, making fun of the teachers straight away. What had gotten into her? She was usually pretty good at talking to adults, even if they didn't like her, but maybe it was the nerves. Like, she knew that sometimes her hijab made old people act weird around her. Mr. Cox, the chairman, was one example, and even people on the street stared at her a bit, but she usually knew how to handle it. This was such a disaster. But maybe she could fix it. Oh, miss, I'm so sorry. I meant no disrespect. You're really beautiful for an elderly woman. Elderly woman? Janie Mac, Layla, what has gotten into you? Layla couldn't believe the words coming out of her own mouth. The teacher's brown beady eyes narrowed again, and her pink lips had been pressing tighter and tighter together. You could barely see them anymore. There were just two pink lines underneath a flat nose, and with this final sentence from Layla, the teacher snapped. Layla, this is completely unacceptable. I beg your pardon. We will not have any of this disrespectful attitude in this school. Thank you very much. I don't care where you've come from. But rest assured, behavior like that won't be acceptable here. Where I've come from? Layla paused. What did she mean? You mean like from my mother? The class laughed louder, and Layla smiled, but this time uncertainly. She didn't even think it was that good a joke, really. Well, she might have got on the wrong foot with the teacher, but at least her classmates knew she was funny. Hee hee. What happens next? Well, you're gonna have to read You Must Be Layla, folks. All right. You might be wondering, how did race car building boxing chick like me end up writing a book like You Must Be Layla? And it's a good question. Well, I loved books growing up. I read all sorts of things, but I never in my entire life read a book with someone who looked like me. I wanted to read a book about a Sudanese girl who grew up in Australia. And it turned out that if I wanted to read that book, I had to write it. If you had told me when I was a 13-year-old getting a scholarship to a private fancy school that one day I would write my own book about it, I wouldn't have believed you. But here I am, because our stories are important. And if you don't see yourself in books, well, you can change that. You can make that happen. Your story is important, and it's worth telling. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be in these shoes. Good luck, guys.
How awesome is Yassmin? I can't wait to chat to her later in the show. Have you guys got your pens and papers? The brilliant Vashti Harrison, creator of the Little Leaders books, is going to show you how she draws people. And the best thing about this video is once you've mastered this technique, you'll be able to draw absolutely anyone who inspires you.
Hi everyone, my name is Vashti Harrison. I'm an author and illustrator from Virginia. These are my books, Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History, and Little Leaders, Visionary Women Around the World. They're the stories of real people, really interesting, amazing women throughout history, the stories of artists and authors and activists and all kinds of inspiring people. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of my work today. Today I'm going to draw the Little Leader character. My favorite thing about the character is that you can turn it into anybody that you like. You can turn it into anybody that inspires you. So I'll show you the basic building blocks. So when I draw the Little Leader, I like to break it down into simple shapes, things that you might recognize. So I'm actually going to use a few examples that you might find around your home, like an aubergine or some runner beans. So here we go. When I do the Little Leader, I always start with the head. You can make it the shape of probably like a burger bun, something circular. Doesn't have to be perfect. You're gonna see that I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes, but I think that's a really important part of drawing, is making lots and lots of mistakes. So here's my circle. It's not perfect, but that's okay. That's exactly what I want. I'm going to use the letter C to build out everything that I like. So all of the facial shapes. So you guys probably know that the letter C looks a lot like this. I'm going to take that shape and roll it onto its belly. And we're going to use that to do the eyes. So I'm just going to make them nice and dark so you can see them. One there. And one here. I'm going to take that same shape and flip it over and do some eyebrows. Pew. And then you can do that same shape for a nose and a nice big one for the smile. Now, I always draw the eyes closed on the Little Leaders because I like to imagine that they're young people dressing up as these famous people. They've got their eyes closed and they're kind of imagining themselves in the lives of these amazing figures in history. But you can certainly open their eyes or do whatever you like. There's lots of options here. So you could keep going. You could add some ears, you could add some hair if you wanted. But the body part, I like to draw, when I think about a body, I like to draw the skeleton first, and I break down all of the shapes and then I add the clothes on top. So here's where our vegetables come in. So I'd like to think of the body as kind of like an aubergine shape. It's not perfect, it's a little bit curvy, it's a little bit lumpy, which is perfect. And then the arms and the legs are going to be kind of like runner beans. And you see I'm not connecting them yet. I just like to put them there so I know where everything's going. I'm going to do the arms like a little bit curved, like this person's got their hands on their hips. So you might want to do all of this part in pencil and then go in and darken the lines that you really like with maybe a marker or a pen. Now, from this shape, You can turn this into anybody. I'm gonna turn it into one of the little leaders from the cover of the book. So Ida B. Wells has this big kind of Victorian dress on. So I'm gonna add some sleeves, some puffy sleeves. And you see, I'm still continuing that C shape. And you can color it in a little bit, add some details. She's got this big collar. So I didn't need to draw her neck, but I very well could have. Just added it in there. And now that I know where her waist is, I can add her belt. And then I'm going to draw that big skirt. So I drew her legs even though I knew that her dress was going to cover them up. But it really helped me know exactly where all the lines should go. And like I said, you could go back in and erase that, but I'm just going to leave it there. You could add color and add a lot of details. Now her hair, she's got this big poofy hair in the front. So I'm still kind of using these C shapes. It's almost like a bun. Okay, now you guys can take all of these tips and turn that figure into anybody that inspires you. And here, I'm just gonna add in a few last details. You're welcome to color it in. I'm gonna leave mine in black and white because I love drawing, and it's perfectly fine. Some drawings I add color in, sometimes I don't. So I'm gonna stop there. I'm pretty happy with where this drawing ended up. So that's my drawing of Ida B. Wells. She's here in the book. She started her own press and they called her the Princess of the Press. So I was really excited to add this really kind of poofy dress on her. But you can take that drawing and turn it into anybody that inspires you. I look forward to seeing what you guys create.
Hold up your drawings, and remember, you can share them by tweeting at Puffin Books using the hashtag Puffin Show. And check out the Puffin Twitter for our photo competition and a chance to win all the books we've been sharing. So I drew Aquafina. Yassmin, who inspires you?
Well, there are a few Black women authors that I love. A lady named Maya Angelou and one named Toni Morrison. So if they could be like a dual. Yeah, I'm gonna go for both of them, if that's okay. Can I do that?
You can do that.
Okay,
you can absolutely do that.
Even though I'm breaking the rules, but we make the rules anyway.
Yeah, we break the rules. You can break the rules that you made up yourself. You know what I mean?
It's
cool.
True.
But you're an activist.
That's what they say.
Well, what would your advice be?
Firstly, if you are someone who's passionate about making a change, congratulations and good on you, because I think it's really important. I think what is really important is for people to know that being an activist or being courageous isn't about not feeling afraid, but it's about feeling that fear and speaking up anyway.
How have books inspired you to dream that big? And are there any that you would recommend for us?
Oh, so many. For me, books have been the window into different worlds. And so I grew up in this town, Brisbane, in Australia. There was no one around who looked like me, apart from my mum. And in order for me to dream big, I had to look in books. I had to find other characters to believe in and to help me think and imagine. And so for me, I think books also showed me that just what I saw around me wasn't the only thing that was possible.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, because you've been amazing.
Thank you.
And drum roll please, because we are excited to tell you about a Puff-enormous competition for 2020. Big dreams on screen. You could win the chance to have your dream turned into a film and shown into your cinema during the Into Film Festival this November. Wow! To enter Big Dreams on Screen, you have to first think about what your big dream is and then draw a storyboard. What was your big dream growing up?
So I had two big dreams. The first was to become a children's author. I always knew I wanted to write my own books and wanted to tell stories. And I had one other dream, which was that I really wanted to own a snake.
Wow. Okay, now I know that the writing dream definitely came true, but what about the snake? Did you?
Well, I didn't get a snake, but I did get a lizard. I have a bearded dragon called Watson, and she is my sidekick, as her name probably shows.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you also to all our guests today. Remember, you can watch the show again on demand and pop the date in your diary for the next show, which will be a very special birthday show for Puffin. To play us out, I'm very excited to share the first glimpse of the new film, 4 Kids in It, based on the book by Jacqueline Wilson, which was based on another book by E. Nesbitt. Thank you for watching, and remember, read up, speak up, and change the world, because reading is power.
We have something to tell you. We've been seeing each other.
Ugh, that is revolting.
This holiday's a great opportunity for everyone to get to know each other.
Hey, give that back, Samantha.
Oh!
I can hit it. Should I hit it?
No! Hit her!
This thing gives wishes.
One wish a day, but there's consequences.
Have you come across anything unusual? What was that?
Magic isn't all twinkly lights, it's stardust. I got great news for you, because this is the best wish you've ever heard.
Wish me.